Pine sawflies are actually they're very interesting in the sense that they work together what we call a gregarious manner, and usually you don't just see one, you see a big group of them. But there's many species of sawflies that affect conifers, but the most common one we see here in the southeast is the red-headed pine sawfly, which is Neodyprion lecontii. This species is common on numerous native pine species, and it's the larval stage that does the damage, but the adult is, here you can see what it looks like, okay, and but we usually don't see the adult typically. The adult sawfly is actually, you don't typically see it because it's not gregarious like this. You don't see it on the host very often. It's flying around doing its thing. But the eggs are laid on the needles like this in a very uniform pattern. It's actually pretty interesting when you see these. But quickly after that, the larvae, the eggs hatch. The larvae are very, very small, just a tiny, tiny caterpillar. And then they start feeding, okay, and they start just chewing away at the needles. And it's called a sawfly because it's like a saw, just taking away all the foliage. And sometimes they'll leave behind, sort of a bit of the needle, but they'll literally just strip the foliage off, and they can actually strip entire trees and even entire stands of trees if you get enough of these. And sometimes we do get the populations build up, but the larvae sort of develop in these stages, and but you can see they have red heads and then you have these black dots on them, but they get bigger and bigger and bigger as they mature, and then they eventually pupate, and you get development of the adults. But we can have different generations of these, and here in Florida, we sort of get these waves of them, and in certain situations, certain conditions, they can be an issue, actually, and we do see problems. Sometimes even on longleaf pine, planted ones and things, they can be a problem. They can strip the trees of their foliage, and if it happens late in the season, like in the winter, late fall and early winter, it could be a problem because the trees will then go through the entire dormant season with almost no foliage, and that can cause a lot of stress and even can cause mortality. If it occurs early in the season, then the trees can refoliate and they can recover. So, but here we have some preserved specimens. You can kind of see what they look like. Okay, they're kind of these ones are not fully mature, but you can kind of get a sense for what they look like. It's sometimes hard to get fresh specimens. You have to just catch them at the right time. But like I said, more often than not, you're going to see a lot of them at once. You're not going to just see one, you're going to see many. And what's interesting, if you move towards them, they'll all sort of move at once because it's a defense mechanism or a ability to avoid predators. They sort of move at once, so it makes it look like they're big. It's one big organism, and so like a bird or something will kind of move away because maybe we'll keep a bird doesn't want to deal with something that's bigger, if they all move at once, and so they're pretty interesting. But anyway, that's a pine sawfly.